Welcome to Fantake,
the show where a new bombshell has entered the villa.
But more specifically, welcome to the most dramatic episode of Fantake history, where we will be breaking down different fandoms and their impact on the marketing and advertising industry. I'm Taryn Aebli, the communications supervisor at the agency.
And I'm Carolina, an operations manager at the agency. And today, we have gone through a long journey together on Fantake, 2 seasons, and we've made a lot of memories along the way, but for this episode, we needed to choose people who were here for the right reasons.
Who we feel like we had the strongest connection to.
Yes, and so for that reason, I think we've, come to our final decision.
Our mutual decision.
So, Allison,
Grace,
will you accept these roses?
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Applause, yay!
Hi guys, my name's Allison and Jimenez. I am a senior copywriter here at the agency, and I am a first-year master's student. My favorite fandoms are reality TV, and my favorite reality TV show is Selling Sunset, but I also do love The Bachelor as well as Love Island. And yeah, I am super excited to be here today.
Hi, my name is Grace. I'm a third-year public relations and political science major here at UF and an account supervisor here at the agency. My fandoms include reality TV, of course, but also Taylor Swift, Hannah Montana, movies in general, Fleetwood Mac. There's more, but yeah.
So how did you guys get into reality TV?
So I started getting into reality TV. This actually goes all the way back to Dance Moms. You guys are probably familiar. Aebli Miller and, The Pyramid really just grabbed my attention as a 12-year-old. And I was also really into dance as well. I was a competitive dancer, so seeing the behind the scenes of a very intense reality show of young dancers who were my age, I was just so gravitated towards it. And I really loved the real aspect of it. It wasn't a production, it was real situations that were happening and real competitions and real emotions as well. So I think that's what really got me into it. And then I kind of graduated in towards Big Brother, and then we kind of moved into Survivor a little bit, but that's kind of how we started.
Yeah, mine is similar. I also was a huge Dance Moms fan, but I started off with YouTube. So there was this reality TV show, and it's so niche, but it's called Summer Break on YouTube. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes! I think I do, actually. I do.
It is so niche. It was these teenagers, they graduated from high school, and it's how they spent their summer before going off to college.
Yep.
And I was I think I was probably 12, and I just looked up to them. I wanted to be them. And then went from YouTube and watching people's real life on there to reality TV with Dance Moms and all the talent shows as well, and then got into the love shows with The Bachelor and everything else.
Oh, we know about the talent shows.
We know the talent shows.
We know about the talent shows. Hence our shirts. Unfortunately, we didn't have many reality TV merch per se, but then Carolina came up with the amazing idea.
So guess which international pop star got his start on a reality competition show?
You'll never guess.
I mean, how would we guess?
There's just no way. I have no idea.
It's Aebli
Thank you, Dawson.
It's Aebli Styles. The infamous One Direction. We're starting on the X Factor UK, a competition-based talent reality show.
Why do you guys think people like reality TV so much?
I think that there's a lot of reasons why people like it, and I think one of the biggest ones is that sometimes it's a little bit more relatable to them, they can see themselves in that situation. And a lot of the times with reality TV, they show a new person who isn't really aware of the setting. For example, Love Island, it shows you the first time a normal everyday person walks into the scene, and it shows how they handle the situations. So they're not a professional actor. They're not trained to handle these wild situations. So I think it's very interesting to see how people go about that, and you can see yourself in the situation. And especially with The Bachelor and things like that, you think how would I handle this situation? And I think that's why people like it. And also you get to be a bird on the wall. Is that the
fly
phrase?
on the wall.
people are fascinated by it, and especially with Big Brother, they have a 24-hour live stream camera that you can log into and see what's going on.
Yeah.
I've never watched Big Brother, so I didn't know that.
No, it's
That's
crazy.
insane.
And like there are people like who will go on Twitter and like document like this person's making a sandwich 12:22 p.m. Like,
Yeah, and in Big Brother, the word name Big Brother comes from the book. I can't remember what the exact book is.
1984.
1984, but it was a old story about like the government has cameras everywhere and like they are aware of what everyone's doing at all times. So that's where the name Big Brother comes from. So they have cameras in every single room, every single building. So yeah, I think that's why people like it, because it's real and you get to see things unfold in real time.
But also, it's not even, I'm aware that not everything that I see is real, but it's an easy way to de-stress. Sometimes I don't want to watch a stressful show. At the end of the day, I just want to watch something that I can do something else while watching. So it's definitely a de-stressor, and then you get to peek into these people's lives that even if you can relate to people maybe on The Bachelor or Love Island, we can't relate to the people on the Kardashians and Selling Sunset, and it's fun. It's fun to see what it's like to live that unattainable lifestyle, or that lifestyle that so many of us feel is unattainable.
I think that's really interesting too, because you guys brought up 2 points that I think are very real in sense of like why people are liking and watching reality TV. But I have a different reason. Like I watch reality TV kind of to like joke about it, if I'm being honest. Like me and my friends have Dance Mom watch parties, and what are we doing? We're quoting Aebli Miller, and like we're like goofing off about it. And then like Bachelor, we're like making everything 10 times more dramatic just for the fun of it. Like I think it's also interesting just because a lot of the times the people that go on reality TV shows, especially shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, like they're definitely more like out there and definitely more like extroverted in a way. And it's just like, it's entertaining to see the way they handle situations, and sometimes it can be really funny in the way that they handle situations where it's really easy to laugh at. So like we just have a blast like making fun of it, really. Not necessarily them, but just like the way the show is edited to make certain people look. It's like hilarious.
Like honestly, that's why I started watching The Bachelor. I was like, oh, I can make fun of these people finding love and think they're gonna find love on TV, and then I got into it. And I was like, oh wait. But it reminds me of like shows like more of like the physical competition shows, like a Wipeout. You know, like I used to tune into Wipeout, like just to watch people like fall. What happened to Wipeout? And like even with some of like the earlier starts with like American Idol, like a big part of American Idol's marketing was look at all these people who are kind of bad at singing, think they're really good at singing. So there's like this like cruel double-sided sword of being like, on one hand you get to relate to these people who are like success stories and like rising up and like seeing people who are talented, but then also like laughing at people who you think that you're better than because there's
Have you seen the American Idol audition where it's like the 2 brothers and then
they're rapping?
No, and like the one brother singing and the other brother in the background's like whoa,
no doubt you look so fine. Whoa, girl, I wanna make you mine. Yeah, come on. Just
I'm like ad-libbing like in the back. It's so funny. Sorry, but I think something else that I thought of is like The Bachelor. It's fun to like predict the editing as well. Like Bachelor in Paradise is probably one of my favorite reality TV shows because that's like the most dramatic. Like it's so good. And there was like in the most recent season, it was like cut to a shot of like them under, it was like stars, and we were like, great, it's gonna be a one-on-one date and they're gonna talk about the stars. And then next clip, oh, the stars are so pretty, and we were like, girl, we predicted that. Like it was so good. And then they kept talking about the stars like 5 more times, but that was a whole other thing. But it's just like funny, like stuff like that. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think another thing is about reality TV, people love to see people give it their all. Like, we love American Idol because you love to see somebody get up there in front of, you know, Katy Perry and really try their best. And sometimes, you know, it isn't that good, but sometimes they really do a great job, and I think it shows. And
Kelly Clarkson.
Yes. And I think people just love seeing people give it their all, even when sometimes it doesn't work out, but... And also another thing on that topic is that I feel like reality TV is like a dramatic version of reality. Mm-hmm. So it's everyday situations, but they edited it to where it's like a little crazy sometimes. Mm-hmm. But I think it gives us an insight into what our reality is actually like, and it kind of puts those things on blast. But I think that's another thing. It like gives insight into reality.
So switching gears a little bit, you wouldn't think of something like reality TV to have like a specific fandom associated with it, but what would you guys say has been your experience with the fandoms of the different reality TV shows and their genres?
Well, for me, my biggest fandom within reality TV is Love Island. So me and my friends, we will watch, it's a new episode every single day. So we will watch every single day a new episode. Yeah.
No, it's a lot.
Yes.
It's
Except for Saturdays.
Saturdays is the clip show, their recap.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So we will watch a new episode every single day for a few months. And after every single episode, we have to check Twitter to see how everyone else feels, if people agree with the opinions that we have. So it's a lot of Twitter culture, a lot of just seeing if everyone feels the same way as we do. And it's a bonding moment for me and my friends. And I think people that might not watch it with their friends feel like they're bonding with people on social media who are also watching the show, because you're all following the same progression, but it's every single day. It's not just a week-long thing.
Yeah.
So Twitter culture is huge. I've noticed mainly with like the international ones, so especially in the UK and even Australia, with the ones that I watch, you feel like you're part of a group online keeping up with it.
Yeah, and I think especially with dating shows, you're literally watching the relationship progress. So you feel like you've been there from the beginning and you're so invested in how it goes. And I think with reality TV shows like the Kardashians, for example, you feel like you know the entire family. And I see when people talk about some of the Kardashians online, they talk about them like they know them, like using their nicknames and things like that. So I think people really like get super deep into it and they feel like they're a part of the family and they're a part of the show and they're a part of whatever journey they're going on together. But yeah, and also I think online people are very quick to defend people, and a lot of the times the person on the reality show, for example The Bachelor, or for example Selling Sunset, there is somebody who you can tell they're trying to make seem like the villain. And the funny part about it is that the fans are able to kind of see right through it to see who the actual villain is. For example, Selling OC is a spin-off of Selling Sunset, and they had two characters, Polly and Alex Hall. And they were supposed to be the main characters and like the nice, friendly, everybody likes them. And they were actually bullying one of the girls, her name was Jarvis, because she was the most successful realtor. And I feel like the cast or the production team probably thought that Alex and Polly were going to be the heroes, but online people were like, no, Jarvis is the one who is killing it in real estate, and they're just being mean to her because they're jealous of her. So the fans were able to see right through that, and Jarvis is the one who has the most followers on Instagram and the most support and the most kind comments in her Instagram, and then Polly and Alex Hall have all the hate in their Instagram because they were bullying her. So I think it's very interesting to see how the fans react to what the producers think they're going to respond.
I think it's really interesting that you brought that up, because I feel like it's not the same. Well, yeah, it's like not really the same for The Bachelor, at least for my experience, and I apologize for bringing up The Bachelor again. But like, I've noticed, at least when I'm watching The Bachelor and I like go on Twitter or something, and then there's like the villain in The Bachelor, once they kind of start pointing out that villain, everybody kind of starts attacking that person. And it's not really like, oh, let me think about this situation. I feel like I've noticed everybody kind of just like follows the story and he's like, oh yeah, screw that person, like they're the villain, they're the worst.
This is actually kind of interesting because I kind of disagree with you, at least from my at least from my seasons of I'll let me talk. Oh my god. But I think that like there's a lot of people who are dedicated to looking through the production of The Bachelor and like revealing these storylines as they come up. I know you're familiar with the channel Bachelor Fan Take. Inspo. JK. But Bachelor Fan Take goes like through like shot for shot and says, oh, this is a fake out on the production. This is actually from like a one-on-one that's like 3 weeks in the future, and like maps out like the entire season and like all of the trailers and be like, okay, this person's gonna go home. This person's gonna get the one-on-one date next week. And like they're trying to make this person to be like the villain of the season. And like I feel like that's just like, maybe that's a small subsect of the community because I was part of like the crazies who would analyze all that stuff. But I think that's really interesting too, of like they were solely dedicated to like seeing through the production and seeing through everything. But I do see where you're coming from though. Like just like really quickly to wrap up my point, like I remember on what was her name, Katie, on Katie's season of The Bachelorette, Katie and Greg had the biggest falling out, but that's where I saw like the most like people split people really didn't know who to pick almost, because I saw people like defending Katie as the Bachelorette, and they were like, oh no, she was in the right. But then people were like, oh no, Greg was also in the right. They're like, it's a gray area. Like, we don't really like know everything about this. What would you do if you were in this situation? And so that was like the most mature conversation I think I've seen in a while, but it was very like dramatic. Now we have to dive into the business side of reality TV. So let's first talk about like how it got started in the first place. Why did reality TV become so popular, and like how is it profitable?
So I think from a production standpoint, and I think it really started taking off in like the early 2000s, but I think people realized, and at least production and screenwriters realized, that they can produce a show for way less if it's a reality TV show. And just to kind of give some insight into, I guess, the finances of it, to produce one episode of reality TV is like 100 to 300K, versus to produce an episode of a TV show like Game of Thrones, it's like $50 million per episode. Because sometimes you have to change the scenery. It has to be snowing, or it has to be, a sandy area, and with reality TV.
Or a dragon.
Or a dragon. A dragon has to appear somehow.
Right.
But with reality TV, it's one setup. You have your stage, you have the confessionals, and you have your contestants. And there's no script writers, it's all unscripted. So it saved so much money, and people were able to produce them at a much quicker rate. And I think that's why we've been seeing a lot of reality TV come up, because it's more beneficial from a production standpoint as well.
Especially considering the recent writer's strike. I feel like around like the 2007 strike, and in addition to now this recent writer's strike, we're going to be seeing a lot more reality TV shows come in, because it's what the entertainment industry has to rely on to create content.
Yeah, I mean, during the strike, that's all that was airing, because it was unscripted. And that's literally all they had to air. But I think in the most recent strike that was a couple months ago, like, there were a lot of reality TV shows and streaming, but a lot of reality TV shows. So, like, it really wasn't that big of a deal, because there were so many that they had so much unscripted programs to fill up the network,
And I think also with the rise of social media and influencers and things like that, it can take a life of its own once the show ends, because people are so invested in these reality TV stars. They can like have a career afterwards, and I think that's what it all blends together. So
a little fun fact for y'all: the 2007 to 2008 strike marked the emergence of reality TV. During this time, more than 100 unscripted shows returned or premiered.
Okay,
Wow.
okay, 100.
Thank you,
Good to
producer
know.
Dawson.
Thank you, producer Dawson. I rember, like Jersey Shore came out of the 2000s, like
Oh my
shortly
God.
after that strike,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like that was like crazy, crazy impactful, and like the amount of like cultural impact it had with how cheap it was to produce too, like that just immediately makes for a success. Like I understand like the business side of it in that sense, but also speaking on Jersey Shore, like once you see how profitable something is, you keep sort of like trying to get at it again and repeat that same formula for success, which kind of transitions into production. I think specifically on shows like Bachelor, like Jersey Shore, there's a lot of producer involvement in like trying to make these shows like authentic, but also like making them dramatic and placing them in certain situations that will make for good TV. So like, what do you guys think is the line that makes reality TV real? Is it all the producers, or is some of it still like authentic happening in real life?
Or, top question, do you consider reality TV to be real?
I think it depends on the show. For me, I really don't view The Bachelor as real that much. I understand, you might fall in love with someone, but that entire process, I think that The Bachelor knows pretty like early on who they're going to pick, and they just have to keep going. And that's just the way that it's formulated. These people know how to act in these situations, so they are acting in a sense because they know what's expected of them, and they're told what's expected of them. But that doesn't deter me from watching it necessarily, because that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking too hard when I'm watching these shows. So it definitely depends on what show I'm watching. I think with something like Love Island, where it's a daily thing, sometimes the episode can get boring. And then I realize, yeah, this is real, because it's getting a little boring right now. And then like the producers have to step in and intervene in a way to make it a little bit more entertaining, but they intervene through challenges or putting them in a stressful situation, but they're still in that situation. It's just in a experimental form, I guess.
So to answer the question, is reality TV real? I think that from shows like The Kardashians and Selling Sunset, I do believe that the first few seasons were real for the most part. Like, I think the first few seasons of The Kardashians, we were seeing Kim, Khloe, and Kourtney running their business, having their crazy family with their 2 little sisters. And then with that came a lot of fame, and I think that's kind of when it started to be not as real, because they were kind of putting on a show for the camera and they were famous now, so there was a lot more pressure. And it was the same thing with Selling Sunset. Like, this photo right here, I think is right when it started becoming like not real. I think this is like the season 3 trailer. The first few 3 seasons of Selling Sunset, I think was, as real as it could be for being a reality TV show. But I think after that, the show took off so much that they all became rich and famous. And now they kind of live in like a delusional sort of LA state. And you can kind of see how it's kind of getting less and less real. But to answer your question, I do think it's real in the early stages of shows like The Kardashians and Selling Sunset.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially with shows like Kardashians and Bachelor that have so much money now, it's kind of hard to like think of it as real. And like you can especially The Bachelor, like you can totally tell like this person hates the villain, but they're keeping them on. And they always end up getting a rose because they're the villain and it makes them entertaining. Like, you know that the producers behind the scenes are like, you have to give this person a rose, which is a little annoying. I'm not going to lie, but it is entertaining.
It is.
But I will say there was one show that I literally just thought of. I don't know the name of it, but I watched it over the summer and it was on Hulu, and it was where celebrity siblings were in a house together.
Oh, Claim to Fame with Kevin Jonas.
Claim to Fame. If you haven't watched that show, watch it. It's so entertaining. I've only watched the first season though because the second season I got bored. But anyways, first season, so good. And it was basically like they had to try to figure out who their celebrity relative was without like, and then like one person got like kicked off like every week or something like that. And it was like really, really interesting to watch because it felt like a real situation. Like if you stuck a group of people in a house, like this is actually how they would react. And nothing seemed like too over dramatized, and it seemed really real in their strategy and like them teaming up together and all that kind of stuff. Like, I know who this person is, but like, and I'll tell you, but I'm not going to tell this person. Like, it just all seemed very like real, honestly. And I think that was one of the very few reality TV shows that I've watched that I felt like, okay, yeah, this is a real situation that they are capturing rather than like a manipulated situation like The Bachelor.
I think to go off of that, I think competition shows are probably the realest reality TV show, like Survivor and Big Brother, because those are like, you win by creating relationships with the people who are around you. Like, you don't win by being America's favorite. I mean, sometimes you do, but at least for Survivor, you have to win by creating successful relationships with the people around you. So a fake person is going to get voted off in 2 seconds. And Big Brother, if people don't like you and you don't communicate, you don't get along with people, you get voted out. So I think competition reality shows are probably the most real because it's real everyday people just trying to get a reward or something at the end of it.
I feel like I'm just disagreeing all the time this episode, but I actually think it's the opposite on competition shows because like, I feel like the producers have like an idea from the beginning of who they want to win, and they'll somehow manipulate like the challenges in order to like get people out in certain weaknesses. I see this a lot as a Drag Race watcher. You'll see like some people like, oh, they're doing the musical episode next week, that person's gonna win. Like they're doing it early so this person can still be in. Or they're doing a sewing challenge this week. This person does not know how to sew, so they're trying to get them out. Or if it's like repeatedly things that like they're not good at, like thrown right after the other, like you can, I sort of see that, and like especially on that show, and a lot of the fandom does as well, and they're like, oh, they're trying to get her out because they don't want her here. And I feel like I sort of experienced the same thing on The Bachelor too, of like the anticipation of like, oh, they're gonna go out soon.
Yeah.
So like, even though like it is kind of like genuine, I feel like there's a lot of like, oh, milestones that happen. Like there are specific things that the production ensures, like this person's going to get out, but not after we've gotten the content out of them. This person will win, but we're going to like make it like, you know, a little bit of a challenge too. Because throughout the whole season, they have to have that storyline there of like this is like our underdog story. Like they came from the bottom and now they're going to win the whole thing. Or like this is I don't know, like they always have like a trope. They want you to like that person, so they rig it. So like, you know, I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, I think that is true. And I think it does depend on the show, truly. But I think when there's like alliances that you have to make or like teams that you have to be on and like you can't really BS it, I feel like
when it depends on the contestants around you. Like I'll say with the circle, that's a popularity competition.
Yeah.
So is Big Brother. When it's a popularity competition with the people among you, there's less room for manipulation, in my opinion, versus a competition show where they can throw challenges at people that aren't able to complete them or something.
I think a big reality TV show that I really want to bring up and that we've mentioned multiple times is Dance Moms, and how that's probably the most unreal of real, in my opinion, because it might have been real in the beginning, but the amount of stuff I've heard and like exposés on like TikTok and Twitter and stuff where they're like, I danced against Dance Moms and they weren't good. And then they'd be like they actually got second, but they made them do the first place trophy.
I've heard about that too.
You've not heard about this?
No.
Yeah, apparently, like Dance Moms, like they were good, but like they weren't like winning every single tournament, and they'd purposely is it tournament or competition? Competition. Sorry. But they like would purposely make them like win every competition just.
Especially Maddie.
Yeah,
because there would be a girl that wouldn't win, but it was from an outside studio, so obviously they have to make Maddie win.
Yeah, and Kalani was one of the best dancers. Like, they recruited her from another team, and they would purposely never put Kalani and Maddie against each other because Kalani was going to win every time. And also, I had friends who were dancers, and they would say that they would refilm their performance over and over again. So, like, when somebody fell and they made a big deal about it, that was probably one of 6 or 7 takes, and they just were like, Chloe fell. It's crazy. So
we should put Kalani in her place.
Exactly.
No, you didn't. Take that. Listen.
Iconic.
It's so fascinating how like in the like original seasons it was like of like some of these shows like it just seemed more authentic and like real, but like they sort of got hypnotized by the success of the show, and it's no longer like about the concept of the show. It's about the show itself. So like. With the Kardashians, it used to be like the appeal was like, oh, I'm watching like for like the Kardashians seeing their life, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like almost like taking on a life of its own. It's we're filming the show not to show the lives of these billionaires, but like because it's the show and like we're filming them almost. Like it's become like sort of like meta.
And you can do that at a certain level of popularity. It doesn't matter how real it is because you have a fan base already built. There's people that are loyal to the show already, so you can kind of be as out of pocket as you want with a lot of these shows until a lawsuit comes up.
So speaking of like the lawsuits, especially with like Love is Blind,
Squid Games.
That's a big one. I think a really important like conversation that's happening is whether people should continue to watch these shows after like the psychological trauma and like difficult situations that the production and the producers have put their contestants under. So I was wondering how you guys have experienced that in like your online fandoms and stuff. Have people just completely stopped watching these shows? Are you continuing to watch them anyways? Like, what's the verdict?
For me, one of the shows that I watched growing up, well, I'm talking about Dance Moms again, but like I watched that growing up, but I was so young to really understand the ethics behind watching it, and I was the same age as these girls. And now I just could not picture myself rewatching the show because of everything that went on, and because I follow these girls and I've heard what they've talked about, the trauma that they've went through. So personally, I won't be rewatching it, but like Love is Blind, I'm currently watching the season because I can't resist, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and I think the thing that bothers people the most is when the contestants themselves come out and are like, I was very unhappy this whole time. Because then it takes away the magic of the show a little bit. You're like, oh, this person wasn't really falling in love and Love is Blind. They were just being manipulated by being served too much alcohol, or they were like delusional because they didn't have food or anything like that. So I think when people come out on like social media and they voice their concerns, I think that's what upsets fans. And a specific example of a show that happened with was Lizzo's dance competition reality show. It was called Watch Out for the Big Girls. I absolutely love that show. It was amazing. And basically what it was is Lizzo was doing a dance competition to recruit her new backup dancers for when she performed at Lollapalooza. And you watch these girls with their audition tapes, and they were going so hard every week, and they were all amazing. And so I think she took 12 girls, and like there were 12 winners. and those became her backup dancers. And then I think this was about a year ago, but these allegations came out that she was mistreating them, and that they all like made a lawsuit against her. And I don't know how other people reacted to that, but I was a really big Lizzo fan, and I was sad to see that happen, and to see the girls who were just everyday people and they were working really hard to make their dreams come true then come out later and say that they were mistreated. I feel like that made me look at the show differently, and I don't know if it was renewed for a new season, but I think it definitely impacts the fans as well, and it makes me not want to watch it anymore. So,
and I think a really important factor to consider, like when it comes to like the mental health of all these contestants, is kind of social media and the online fan communities that kind of proliferate like hate and like succumb to some of like these like edits. So like when someone is the villain, they will like send them a lot of hate and like mistreatment, and which obviously leads to more mental health issues. So how would you guys like describe how social media has like changed reality TV and its evolution?
Well, it's obviously changed it in the way that producers not only need to be protecting the contestant during the production of the show, but also after the fact, and offering mental health resources after the fact. And then it's changed it in the way that you mentioned earlier with influencers. They become influencers after the fact, and now they can quit their job and they have a whole new stream of income. So are they really going on the show for love, or are they
you
just
here for the
going...
right reasons?
Exactly. You never know. So that's a big factor.
yeah, and I think with social media and the rise of influencers, people can make like 6 figures now just from brand deals and things like that. Because I think in reality, they don't get paid that much being on the show. I think it's like $1,000 per episode for a show like Love Island, or $1,000 per day or something for Love Island. But they get most of their money, most of their fame from like the brands that they promote once they get out of there. So I think it's definitely evolved a lot. But in terms of like mental health and things like that, I think before, when you got famous, you know, you had a couple thousand people looking at you. But now when you get famous, you have millions and millions and millions of people looking at you from all different ages, all different walks of the earth, different countries commenting on what you say. So I think that can definitely get to people's heads, as it would anyone. So that's why I think it is so important to have producers who care about, you know, the contestants' mental health, because I don't think anything can prepare you for millions of eyes on you criticizing everything you do. So that's why I think it's important to take that into consideration as well.
But it's also hard because I've watched shows with people, and they'll say, well, they just shouldn't go on the show if they can't handle it. But you never know what you would do if you were put in that situation. So part of me understands that, but also you don't know. You can have a mental health screening, but when you're actually there, how would you react? And that makes you keep watching.
Yeah, and a lot of the villains who are on these shows, like I know Christine Quinn, like she has her comments turned off on social media because people were just going at her. And same thing with Alex Hall, I believe, of Selling OC. Comments are off. So I think there are good ways that social media platforms have allowed them to kind of like separate themselves from the drama and things like that. But it definitely is something that I think you have to be really prepared for with any reality TV show.
So we've been talking about our favorite shows, and one of them that has been recurringly coming up in this conversation is Dance Moms, which conveniently, perfectly segues into our next segment, The Pyramid.
Welcome to The Pyramid.
Today, Grace and Allison have prepared a ranking of their favorite reality TV shows, and they're going to reveal them to us a la Dance Moms. So take it away, ladies.
All right, so at the bottom of the pyramid, we have the one, the only, Dance Moms. Listen, and I know what you're thinking, how can you put the creator of the pyramid at the bottom of the pyramid? But the sole reason why this is at the bottom is because it's not streaming anymore. That's why. We don't have any more content to give anymore, so it's like,
I guess.
we only have these memories of Aebli right now, so.
Okay, at the bottom of my pyramid, we have The Bachelor.
What a great photo, Joey. Wow.
And it's because the algorithm is the same. It's the same every single season. I'm getting sick of it. I only watch recaps. I don't want to go through a whole episode anymore. It's just, and the cast is always unseasoned. I hate to say it.
Real.
But it's the same thing every season.
That's so fair,
no
actually. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll still be watching the recaps though.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's crazy controversial. They
Yeah.
just need to stop putting like 23-year-olds on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are not ready for marriage. Calm down.
That's so true.
They should have been in the clubs.
Well, moving on. Next on the pyramid, we have the one, the only.
Oh my god!
So my justification is the same. I think The Bachelor is just now getting revitalized. I think this season is the first one that at least I'm kind of watching. So, it's definitely not last, but it's definitely not mid-range or top tier. But hopefully, if they cast Maria as the Bachelorette next season, I might tune in. But that is where I'm at with that. But I do love Joey.
This is so a tragedy.
Joey's such a good Bachelor.
Yeah,
He's like killing
well, I'm
it
saying
right now.
Bachelor Nation is going to be so disappointed with us. Gator alum Jesse Palmer is not going to be happy
He's
when
gonna
he
be
hears about
disappointed
this.
with us.
Well, no, we love what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are on a great track, and that's why,
It's not Joey's fault.
Yes, this is not
It's
Joey.
the franchise.
Joey is the reason why this is even on the pyramid in the first
True.
place.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
we love you, Joey. We love The Bachelor.
I agree. The last few seasons have been a slump, so.
Yes. Take me back to Hannah Brown.
Oh,
We're fine.
Hannah Brown with Luke.
oh, Luke P?
Yeah, Luke P.
I still think about it to this day.
Yeah.
She picked up the thing and like.
Move the podium.
Yeah. Iconic.
But let's stop making excuses. They're still at the bottom.
Yes.
Moving on, we have the Kardashians.
Oh.
I love the Kardashians, but at this point, I just want to go back to the first couple seasons. The chaos is just getting out of touch at this point, so it's still entertaining though. So I'll still tune in. Just mid-bottom.
Fair.
Now, does this lump in keeping up with and this show?
Yes.
Okay, so they're both considered the same thing.
All the
Yes.
Kardashians.
All the Kardashians.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Cool.
So, moving on to the next part of the pyramid, we have Love Island. Listen, guys, I do love Love Island. I don't want to discredit Love Island at all. I think it's great. I watched like 5 episodes last night, but I just think that there are better reality TV shows. I do think it's great though, but this is not a bad position to be in at all. I want to.
It seems pretty bad.
Abby Lee would say otherwise.
Yeah.
Abby Lee has some work to do.
Here, it
herself.
does not look good.
Love Island, but yeah, no hate towards Love Island. Love you guys. This is just where I decided to place you.
And I know, Grace is gonna have that at the top of her pyramid.
Is Love Island?
Hey,
I got a text. I got a text.
A new bombshell has entered the villa.
I got a text. That was a good one.
Next, we have Dance Moms.
Dance Mom.
Sorry,
I feel like
she's
this is-
tiny. She's small.
She has such a funny photo.
She's at the bottom again. I love the show. It's iconic. It takes me back to my reality TV roots. But the psychological trauma that I just can't help but thinking about it when I watch now.
Real.
But sometimes you just have to turn that part of your brain off and just watch.
I feel like that's a valid place for Dance Moms.
Yeah. But that scene right there, that's why it's up here.
Out of my face.
Exactly.
Now we have reached second tier pyramid, and we are moving up the rankings.
Third
So,
on the pyramid.
Here we go. Big Brother. And here's my justification. Love Island, there's really no strategy involved. It's more like emotional and you're just there to have a good time. Big Brother, you gotta have strategy, you gotta have game, you gotta have a plan, you gotta win the competitions. I feel like it's a little more of a show that I personally would want to be on, so that's why it's here. It was hard to decide between these two, but that's kind of like my justification for it.
Intellectual stimulation.
Yes, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, so you gotta have a strategy. So that's why Big Brother is second tier.
Understandable. Now we have Selling Sunset.
Oh.
Because it's inspiring. It's inspiring. Because I want to be one of them. I think it's wonderful. It's great to watch. I know it's Allison's favorite, but I just need to catch up with more seasons and then maybe it'll move. No, it won't move up. Sorry, it's staying here. But I also recently started watching Selling OC and I'm lumping it into the same category.
Okay.
The selling
All the
cinematic
sellers.
universe.
Yes. The sellers.
Yes.
All the Oppenheim groups are in one.
Yep. So that's
Okay.
I've never heard someone describe a reality TV show as inspiring.
it. Is
Yeah,
it
it's inspiring.
It's inspiring.
I think the reason why it's
You
inspiring
do know you're an
is-
advertising major, right? Or PR major.
I think it's because they're working in an office setting too. So
Oh,
corporate.
Yes.
Corporate. All right.
All right.
Second on the pyramid.
All right, second on the pyramid goes to the Kardashians.
Wow.
Listen, let me explain. I know we have different ideologies on these, but I'm talking about not keeping up with Kardashians. I'm talking about the Kardashians themselves.
Oh,
the new season. I think people expect it to be like this riveting, intellectually stimulating show. It's like, no, we're just watching these billionaires live their lives. And I think when people look at it for what it is, you can just appreciate it so much more. Like, we will never probably have the lifestyle that Kim Kardashian has, but we can still appreciate it and just enjoy it for entertainment purposes. So yeah, that's my justification. I think it's just super entertaining, which is what reality TV is supposed to be.
Second on my ranking, I have a feeling this is going to be a little controversial. Love is Blind.
Oh.
I eat it up. Every season I'm eating it up. It's so good. They hire, like you would think, these are older individuals, these are people that are ready for marriage. They find the most unhinged people that are not ready for marriage and desperately need therapy, and I love it. And I want to be, like, if I was put in that situation, I just want to know how I would react. It's crazy, and they're not there for the right reasons. We can say that, and that's okay with me, you know, because as a viewer, I don't want to see people that are there for the right reasons. I don't care. So yeah.
And it's an experiment.
It's an experiment.
First and foremost.
First and foremost.
Oh my god, are we ready for the top place on the pyramid?
Top of the
Should we
pyramid.
do like a drum roll or something? Like,
Yeah.
Here we go. And on the top of the pyramid, Selling Sunset.
Big surprise. Big surprise.
I know nobody saw this one coming. This is probably the biggest jaw drop of the segment so far, but
The most dramatic season of Fantake yet.
yes, but I just love everything about Selling Sunset. I think it brings the drama, it brings the business, it brings the relationships, like it brings it all, and they're all doing it in like stiletto heels at the same time. So they're selling real estate, they're getting their bag. I mean, it's inspirational. You guys know Chriselle's my favorite reality TV star, but this is an iconic scene from one of the tell-all seasons, and it's just, I mean, like she's saying so much right there with her face, but yeah, that's
I
at the
sense
top.
it. I sense the depth.
Yes,
emotion
like there's so much to unpack in that image, but yeah, that's at my top.
All right, Grace.
Okay.
I'm gonna be shocked by this one too.
We have the global phenomenon, the love, the popularity, the chilling at the beach.
Love Island!
Now, as I said, this is a global phenomenon. We have UK, Australia, South Africa, USA, games. We have Love Island All-Stars now. It gives me everything I want and more. It's daily episodes, 2 or 3 times a year, plus there's ones in other countries. It deserves this spot, and I just, when I die, spread my ashes in the Love Island villa.
Cool.
That's so
We'll
good.
do it right in time. Cool, thank you.
Wow, I love the overlap on these.
This is so different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I was taking it all in.
I really am.
I'm so shocked by your top answers.
Right?
I know, I would never expect that.
Ever. No, based on our conversation, this is probably
It's
a
not
blind
like they're
side.
our whole personality.
I was just not expecting Dance Moms at the bottom and the Kardashians at the second.
This is a new, like in the last 2 years.
Wow.
Like it something shifted. I just am obsessed.
Well,
I
now-
tune in.
I'm a little upset we have a snub for MILF Manor.
And at the very top of the pyramid, Maddie.
Honorable mention MILF Manor. F-Boy Island.
F-Boy Island, the Love Island spinoff.
What's the Too Hot to Handle?
Too Hot to Handle.
Can we say MILF on camera?
Good job,
Yes,
guys.
that's
Thank
it.
you so much. This was very insightful. Now, back to the show. Grace, Allison, thank you so much for coming on to Fantake, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this was great. It was great chatting with you guys. Thanks.
To keep up to date with the series and see what fandoms we cover next, be sure to follow us on all of our social platforms at The Agency at UF.
And always remember, everyone's replaceable.